going on, guys? This is Burrs. I'm here with Nate Murr, inventor of the grip stop. And as you know from previous videos, we went and built a precision rifle. It's an SPR. Whenever I say SPR, people think I say SBR. I guess maybe I just...
like a special purpose rifle.
Yeah. Or Mark 12, it's that sort of rifle. So we put something together like that, shooting sub-MOA all day long. And what we're going to do today is review the scope. So this is a SWFA Super Sniper 3x9 scope. It's a front focal plane. And I want to get Murr's thoughts on it because he's in the precision community. So I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit when we get into it. So we're going to take this, put it on the table, we'll go over the parts, and we'll talk about it right now. Alright, so just as a real quick overview, we started with the Bean Firearms billet lower. We got the Voltor Murr upper.
Murr, yeah. I need to get me one of those receivers.
You need to get a Murr. We have a Nordic components. This is a 223 Wild Barrel, is what it's chambered in. Amtac Precision Rail with the Ares Armor F&A comp. Of course, we have the scope we're going to talk about. Aero Precision, that's a lightweight mount. B5 Systems grip, a STR stock, and what we're doing on the inside there is the Young Manufacturing National Match bolt. So that's a real quick overview of what the gun has. Obviously it has a grip stop as well. If not, I'd probably get kicked in the face.
Has to have a grip stop.
And also, it's all sitting on the GG&G bipod with the way the gun performance, Proctor sling with the QD mounts. So that's a real quick overview. I want to talk about the scope though primarily today, and that's what the video is about. Been shooting it for a couple months now. I've really been impressed with it in multiple different ways. There really have been a lot more highs and lows is what I've seen. You've also shot it as well. We went out a few times. And what's your thoughts on the scope versus higher quality scopes, or maybe even scopes in the $600 range? I think you can't really beat it for the $600 price.
3x9, that's the preferred magnification of lots of Americans as far as hunting goes. I can crank it down to 3 power, and at 3 power I have a wider field of view. With it being first focal plane, that helps me because it's got this mil radian reticle, right? So that means my ranging capability of using that reticle doesn't change regardless of what magnification I'm on. So that's a big perk. That's why so many guys like to go with the first focal plane, because you're basically idiot-proofing your system. There's no accidentally having it on the wrong magnification. You range a target, you do the math, and it's wrong. You're putting the wrong dope on your scope because it was at 6 power instead of 9 power. Leave it on 3 power, you think about what Marines use. Marines use 4 power ACOGs, the RCO. So 4 power is enough magnification to assist you at distance, but it's not so much magnification that it hurts you at close range. So 3 power, you can leave at that setting for 0 to 100 yards. You start shooting at extended distance, like 400 or 500 yards, you can crank it up to your preferred magnification, all the way up to 9 power. So bear in mind that for years and years, sniper rifles like the M40 had a fixed 10 power scope. You can shoot a man-sized target at 1,000 yards with 10 power. And since I'm not capable, the cartridge itself is not capable of shooting at 1,000 yards, I really don't need 10 power. 9 power is a good setting. So 3x9, I prefer either a 3x9 or a 2.5 by 10 power. I favor 2.5 by 10 powers, but I have plenty of rifles with 3x9. So as far as magnification goes, it's a good setup in that way. If you look at your turret adjustments, they're set up in MRAD. So basically, your reticle and your turrets are matched. So if I look through the optic and I see that, okay, I'm shooting 1 mil low, I can range that, or I can use that reticle to tell me what I need to put on my turrets. So if I'm shooting 1 mil low, I can immediately adjust it with these target style turrets, take it up 1 mil, and now I'm hitting point aim, point impact again. So the turrets are very easy to adjust. They don't have much of an audible click, but they have a very distinct clunk as you go from 0.1 mil, 0.1 mil, 0.1 mil. You can definitely feel it even with gloves.
That's the one thing I noticed too. It isn't very audible. Like I have a Vortex optic that has a lot more audible to it than what that is. So that's really only, and that's personal preference too.
That's a personal preference. There'll be people that like that it's not audible. There will be other people that wish that it was. To me, it doesn't really. It's a different system. It's not necessarily a knock against it. It's going to be a personal preference thing. The turrets have good texturing at the top, so they're very easy to adjust with or without gloves. Like I said, you can feel that distinct click when it goes from 0.1 mil, 0.1 mil, 0.1 mil. So it's a pretty good system. It's pretty easy turrets to learn and to use in that sense.
So the one thing that stood out to me initially, being that I have a Vortex as my other scope, is that the the focus and the magnification settings, it's smooth to operate. It's not rather difficult. Like Vortex, you have to buy those extra rings and adjusters to put on top of where the magnification is. Yeah, and I have one of those, but it's just really smooth to operate and get to the next power quickly.
The range of magnification, it slides very smoothly. It's very easy to do. The same thing with the focus. Adjusting the focus, it slides very smoothly. There's no play in either of them. What I like about your rear focus here is that you can adjust it so you have your optic in focus, and it has this lock ring that'll spin back and butt against the adjustment. So once you have it set where you want, it's a little bit more difficult to bump it out of alignment. But yeah, I know what you're saying. Like, so other scopes, the magnification, just be able to crank, you kind of have to really bear on it to get it to move. This is smooth, but it's not so smooth that I think you would knock it off your preferred setting while walking through heavy brush or anything like that. So I actually really like it. It's very smooth. It works out very well.
As far as durability goes, I think it definitely passes the test there. The things I've done is I've had it in the freezer for a few hours. I put it in a bucket of water, for an hour. And just some stuff that at least would have it in. Obviously that's not what a soldier would do or have it in as far as conditions go. But what are your thoughts on testing durability and realistically, what a realistic test you would do? I mean, do you think that's far enough to test something like this?
At the end of the day, it's a piece of glass wedged into a very thin-walled tube, right? So this is a thin-walled tube, and I have a piece of glass in the front, a piece of glass in the rear, and my adjustment mechanism, prism, all that, right? So everything about an optic, particularly a magnified optic, it's sensitive, right? They're fragile in comparison to the rest of the gun. Everything else on the gun is made out of high-strength polymer, aircraft-grade aluminum, steel. Those are all much stronger than glass. So how I look at it is, what do I care about? What do I want out of the scope? I want durability. I want it where, okay, it can survive being knocked around and I'm not going to lose zero. I want it where my target turrets, when I click it 0.1 mil, it's actually 0.1 mil. As I spin my turrets back and forth, I'm not wearing out the gears where all of a sudden one day 0.1 mil is equal to 0.1 mil of adjustment, and the next day or the next click it hops 3 mils off where I want to be. Right? So the turrets are very important. They've held zero. We shot box drills with it, so that the turrets are holding up well. The clarity of the glass, it's pretty clear image. Maybe not as clear as the $3,000 scopes like a Schmidt & Bender or a Premier, but for the price range, I think it's very, very good glass for what you're paying for it. As far as that durability goes, right? So I should be able to abuse it a little bit, but I should also be doing my part, which is protecting the scope as much as possible, using a scope cover or keeping it in a padded case or a hard case as much as possible. I don't like to pick up scope or rifles by the scope and put that unneeded stress on that thin-walled tube. So that's something to take into consideration. I want to baby this as much as I possibly can, because at the end of the day, it's still glass in a thin-walled tube. The waterproofing thing is very important to me because you don't want an optic that's going to fog up, right? So leaving it in a 5-gallon bucket full of water, that's a pretty fair test. Now, is it waterproof to 3 atmospheres for Super Navy SEAL ops? No, but it doesn't need to be. You're never going to go scuba diving with this. So as long as it stays waterproof, to a couple feet for a short period of time, that's realistic. Because then that gives you confidence that you can be out in the pouring down rain for a week at a time, and you don't have to worry about water getting inside the tube. Same thing, if there's water inside the tube, then that's going to equate to your optic fogging up, right? So most modern scopes are nitrogen purged. There's actually nitrogen gas inside to prevent the optic from fogging up. So as long as it's waterproof enough that I can be out in the pouring down rain, it doesn't fog up, it's nitrogen purged, my adjustments are true, I have good clarity with my glass, my magnification is easy to adjust, The focus ring is easy to adjust. I mean, that's really all you need. You know, I don't want to take this off and pound a nail into a 2x4. What am I really accomplishing with that, right? Now, if it survives that, that's cool, but what am I simulating? What am I replicating by doing that? I'm not really doing anything. You can break these easily. We can do a torture test and break this thing in about 30 seconds. What's the point, you know? So let's try to be more practical about it with, you know, extreme heat, extreme cold. You've done that. Extended submersion in water, 100% submersion. You didn't have any leaks. That's really all you can ask from it, aside from the features.
You know, as far as the precision of it goes, you know, I've done ammunition tests that probably everyone's seen, at least if I was a channel. And through those ammunition tests, you know, I've seen the same MOA, you know, with me taking off the scope off the rail to do the test, putting it back on, going to the range, shooting some more, back and forth, etc., etc. So the scope itself, coupled with a good setup, is really going to garnish you, you know, easily something that's sub-MOA, easily.
It's easy for people to build a terrible rifle or to buy a low-end rifle with a terrible barrel and then shoot ball ammo, like just garbage ammo through it. And then they'll put a scope on it and they'll blame the scope. They're like, oh, well, this scope's a piece of shit because it doesn't hold zero, or I'm all over the place. And it goes back to maybe it's the Indian and not the arrow. Maybe it's your shooting ability that's producing the bad accuracy. Or maybe it's the fact that you're using a good quality scope on a poor quality barrel and you're shooting ball ammo through it. Inconsistent, you know, you're not using match grade, so how can you expect good accuracy if you're not using the highest quality components and the highest quality ammunition that you can get? So every single aspect comes into play for accuracy downrange. You know, good quality scope, with a good quality mount, with a good quality barrel, with good ammunition, all the component parts, your ability as a shooter, all that comes into play to get that tiny little shot group downrange. If you can have the greatest rifle in the world, but if you're a bad shooter, you're not going to shoot in an angle, right? Same thing, you can be an Olympiad, you know, best sniper in the world, but if you're handed a crappy rifle, you can only do so much with your equipment limitations. And you got to be honest with yourself, and you got to be honest with your equipment. That's the ego thing that a lot of guys have a problem with, admitting that they are the problem, or that their precious $500 garbage AR-15 that they got on sale, that's the problem. I'm not going to spend $1 a round for match grade. Well, if you want to shoot 1-inch groups, yeah, you need to. You have to.
Yeah, and we've shown that in the past with, you know, we were testing these out and such. But I think for, you know, even the one thing with this setup, with the way the scope's mounted on that Aero Precision mount, that's a very lightweight, thin mount. It's not very thick as far as the walls go for the brackets and such, for the scope mounts. So even in this configuration, you know, if you threw on something from Badger or something like that that has real nice thick, you know, mounts and such, it's going to be even better, you know. So even in this configuration, you know, it's shot, you know, very well. And I think for the price, it's going to be hard to beat. Front focal plane is really what sets it apart at this price range. And then, you know, like I said, the only two things that, at least between you and I talking.
First focal plane optics are almost always going to be more expensive than the second focal plane. The majority of scopes out there are second focal plane. If I can get the option, if I can have first focal plane, I'll spend a little extra money and get the first focal plane. It makes my life easier. If I'm actually going to use the scope to its fullest potential, actually be able to mill out targets and be able to figure out target distance with that, it just makes it that much easier. But I mean, as far as a custom build, you know, a gun that we put together from high quality component parts all throughout, I think it's a great rifle. I mean, you're shooting very well with it, Burrs. You're shooting 1-inch and sub MOA groups with guerrilla ammunition, and then shooting a range of different match grade and ball ammunition. It shot well with pretty much everything we put through it.
Yeah, I think the best I've hit with it is about a half.
Yeah, I think it was about a half-inch group. 100 was probably the tightest shot group. But you're cloverleafing routinely, so I mean, it says a lot for the ammunition that we're shooting, like the guerrilla stuff. It says a lot about the quality of the barrel. It says a lot about the quality of all the component parts combined together. The scope worked really well for that. I mean, I think it's a good option. Like you said, for the price, it's definitely worth looking at. I would put it on the short list if you're trying to get a quality scope under $1,000 for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So that's pretty much going to wrap it up for our review here of the SWFA Super Sniper 3x9 scope. If you guys have any questions or anything, let me know. If you guys have experience with SWFA, go ahead and put it down there as far as the scopes you guys have used, etc. Until next time, later. What's going on, guys? This is Burrs. I'm here with Nate Murr, and we're actually going to be reviewing and going over the SWFA SS Super Sniper front focal plane 3x9. It's a huge mouthful. Scope. So we're going to be going over that, and I don't like the other.